Hey, what's good, everyone? Local Ice Man here. Gotta fill the propane tanks tonight before it gets dark here. This one's about half empty. This one is empty. How do I know it's half empty? I'm not really sure, but I did swap them out yesterday. I think the day before. I think it was actually last night. To be honest, the days are going by so fast. I had to switch it over to this tank right here. So let's go and fill this one. I already did a video on this, I don't want to say years ago, but it was one of the first videos I did. And I kind of had the propane going when I was filming it. You couldn't really hear me very well. So plus we got a new handle on this thing. So I'm going to show you the new handle here. Fill these tanks up. Go and comment below if you guys fill your tanks up, or if you have a bottle exchange. See how you guys do it. Gasoline powered, battery powered machines, you guys a little bit different. Here we have to actually remove the handle because we had issues with people stealing our propane, cutting locks off. I mean, they cut the lock, they cut the hinge. They actually cut this thing right there. So, and I'm gonna have to order some more propane right there. So we try to keep it not too topped off. Well, actually, that's not true. We call it have it topped off. So we've been kind of slow, as you can imagine. Let me go ahead and put this camera right here and show you how I hook this up before I start. So essentially, you just kind of, you're gonna hook this thing onto here. You gotta make sure you kind of keep it straight in the air, because if it's kind of torqued one way or another, it's really kind of hard to thread it. Right here, so you stick it in here like so, twist it on, make sure it's on tight. I usually try to make it so this little, you can see it right here, I'll show it to you, this little bleeder valve, which you gotta make sure it's closed, is on, and make sure it's nice and tight. Already got the main handle turned on over there. All we gotta do right now, just do it this way. I got this little bleeder valve right here, and this bleeder valve is the new valve right there. This bleeder valve is what has added to the handle. It was a cap. The handle broke a couple months ago where you couldn't really turn it on, so I went down to the propane store and got a new one. All right, now we got the valve one right here. Let's kind of hop back out here for a better view. Just first explain the difference between these two gauges right here, and it kind of says right up there, this gauge right here, because a lot of people read this right here and say, oh, it's half full when it's empty. So as you can see right here, this top gauge is for when it's horizontal, if the tank is laying horizontal, and the bottom one right here is when it's going vertical. So it's going to be on, if it's full, it's going to be on okay. And for the first, like, I'm going to say like 20% of the time, then it's going to be on add for most of the time, maybe 30-70, but it goes to add relatively quick. You just have to wait till your fuel light goes on right there. And when you fill it, you know, it depends on how cold or warm it is outside. If you get this tank colder than that tank, you could fill it faster. So in the summertime, bring this out from the ice rink, it could fill within like 5 minutes. But both these tanks cold like it is right now, when it's extremely cold, it could take like 15. I'm gonna say it's gonna take probably about 10-12 minutes right now to fill it up. And it also depends how much propane is in that tank right there. That one's kind of empty, maybe not, but I think if it's totally full, it's definitely going to push it out more than it's a little bit full. You could probably check me on that one if you want to. It's going to be on add for, again, probably like 80% of the time. It's going to go to okay for about 20% of the time. And at that point, once you go to okay, if you want to shut it off, I guess that's fine. But I was taught by the previous guy and checked it with the propane guy who fills the tank up, that it's okay to keep it going till the white vapor comes out. So essentially, to get this thing going here, you're going to open this little bleeder valve right there all the way. This one actually tops out, but be careful because this one over here doesn't top out. This one keeps going to kind of falls out. You don't want that to happen. Open your bleeder valve, then you open up your valve right here. And this one used to have a little safety thing, but it doesn't have anymore. And this one also has a little bleeder valve right here for when you're done, you close this thing and it bleeds out between this valve right here and this little area right here. We didn't have that last time, so every time you open this, it kind of squirt at you. Not a huge deal, but definitely nice to have. And one thing I'll show you right here, I do have my gloves right here. I like to have these kind of, I don't know, kind of PVC gloves, I guess you could call them. They're plasticky gloves. These are for propane. Don't try to use a regular glove. If something goes wrong, I'll go right through it. I've burnt myself once really bad. That's not it. That's from hitting myself on a door when I was trying to slide open the door. But I burned myself bad enough where I had to get a little cream on there, start putting cream on there because it blistered me pretty good. So just have some gloves. If you have the propane tank, you get these at the hardware store. Probably should have them next to you anyway. But anyway, let's go and get this thing started, then we'll check back in at the end when it gets full here, because it gets kind of loud when you're trying to fill it. So let's go ahead and open up the expansion valve first, then we'll open up the fill valve. And mind you, we have the main valve open right there too. There you go. Check back here in a few minutes. As you can see there, we're on the okay. It's gonna be a few more minutes. And white vapor starts coming out of that expansion valve right there, then we'll shut that off right there. See it a little bit there. There it goes, there it goes. So let's go ahead. You're gonna close this, then we'll shut this off right there. All right, before we finish this video, I totally forgot to show you how to disconnect this thing right here. So let's go and do that. Again, once it's full, you shut this valve, close your bleeder valve, then you open up this valve right here just to bleed all the propane out. It just takes a second there. And you can release it right here if you want to. It's just going to squirt you a little bit. So once all the propane's out, then you kind of hold it right here. I always kind of hold this because it kind of torques on the handle there, and just break it loose like that. All right, there you have it. That's how you fill a propane tank. I'm going to switch valves, stick it over here and fill this one up or top this one off. So that way you got 2 full tanks, lasts quite a while. Each tank probably lasts about 2 days and we're good and busy and stuff. But since we're kind of slow, we get probably about 3-4 days out of a tank. But when it's busy, we'll get 2 days out of tank before we have to switch it to another one. If it happens at night, I don't tell my drivers to fill it. I'd show them how to do it if you want to do it. But if it's rainy and dark and stuff, you don't want to do it, just leave me a note. Don't take it off the machine. We used to take the tanks off the machine. We had to wheel them outside because you didn't want to drive the machine outside too far when the propane tank was outside the gate. Since people were stealing propane, we had to stick it inside the gate. So each tank lasts about 2 days, as well as make sure you have these gloves right here. I think they're something you should have if you fill in propane. I don't know. Sometimes I don't have them right next to me, but if it's not really a good habit to do. I just try to keep them in the little compartment there. That way, no matter whatever machine we're driving, let's keep them in a little compartment there. So when we're filling propane, they're right there. I don't always really use them, but I want them right next to me just in case something goes sideways. You gotta close a valve because sometimes these valves right here kind of squirt if you don't get them sealed, and it can kind of burn you, like I said. So, all right, before I end this video, there's a couple things I forgot to go over. I at least want to go over everything that I know about the propane tank. To go over what this thing is right here. This is an emergency expansion valve or pressure relief valve. So if the tank gets overpressurized, this thing right here will release, and basically this little rubber cap right here will pop off and propane will start kind of bubbling out. So make sure you have this thing on so you know if it has popped or has needed to expand out somehow, or pressure relief, however you want to say it. So that's happened here a couple times. Mainly because we painted the tanks black, and another machine there, when we park it outside, when we filled, not so much when we filled up, but we do any kind of work on it, or just kind of leave it parked outside for an extended period of time. I've noticed that this thing kind of pops because during the summertime, the tank gets really hot, and especially if it's full, propane's got nowhere to go, so it just kind of pops out, and you see it kind of bubbling out. As well as if you don't really close this valve off when you're filling it, if you don't pay attention to it and you kind of let it go like 15, 20 seconds, 30 seconds, maybe longer, because I've had guys kind of not paying attention and kind of confess. I'm like, kind of, what's going on? You know, this thing doesn't pop off for no reason, man. Oh, yeah, I was filling it, and, you know, so just, you know, I don't want to throw anyone under a bus, but guys, when you're filling this tank up, we really got to make sure that you're paying attention to it. You don't walk away from it. Just kind of sit here and watch it. I know it takes 10, 15 minutes, but it's kind of, you know, you got to do what you got to do. You're getting paid, so you got to watch it because you don't want anything catastrophic to happen. So if you get these things off in time, you're fine, but this thing will pop off, and I tell the guys, take the tank out and just bleed some of it out, I guess. Nevertheless, if you don't have one of these little caps on there, get that on there. It's probably a good idea. Last thing right here, if you ever pull the handle off and this thing doesn't seal up against the top, because this little, assuming that there's a mechanism other than pressure, like a spring, keeping this little seal up against the top of the propane valve right here. So when you put the handle on, it kind of pushes it down, and you open the handle up, propane flows in. So after you turn everything off and go to remove the valve, sometimes this thing doesn't seal up against it because you get a little debris or whatever in there. So what they recommend to me, it's kind of unsettling, is to get a screwdriver and put some tape on it, and you kind of pop it down, just this little disc right here. I don't think it's the center part. I'm pretty sure it's this disc part right here. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments. Again, it's been years. You see the propane handle, it's a big round disc that presses in there, so I'm pretty sure it's this outer part. But propane's ever kind of squirting out of there after you pull the handle out, let's give it a little pop with a screwdriver or something plastic hard that you have. It's only happened a couple times, you know. If it happened more often, I have something over there in the little box right there, but it's only happened a couple times in 20 years, so just want to pass that information along. Go and comment below if you feel like I've missed something or to add something to the conversation here, because comments always make the channel better. But that's all I have for you guys today. Thanks for watching. As always, hope you learned something. Like the localized man says, stay cool.